Welcome back to the Rose Bros podcast. This episode, we are joined by Dr. George Athanassakos, Professor of Finance and the Ben Graham Chair in Value Investing at Ivey Business School. Dr. Athanassakos is the founder and managing director of the Ben Graham Center for Value Investing and the founder and managing director of the Center for the Advancement of Value Investing Education. Dr. Athanassakos has a Bachelor of Arts of Industrial Studies, as well as a Master of Arts, an MBA, and a PhD in Finance from York University. He's also a Fellow of the Quality Shareholder Initiative at the Law School of George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and has been ranked among the top 10 researchers in Canada by research published in Financial Management and among the top 10 Canadian professors by the Globe and Mail. Dr. Athanassakos is also the author of a new book titled Value Investing: From Theory to Practice, a guide to the value investing process, which aims to teach students the fundamentals of value investing and become the New Testament to Ben Graham's classic books on value investing in the beginning. The book has received strong praise from fellow value investors, including billionaire Prem Watsa, and is available for purchase at the Western University bookstore. So check out the links in the show description and get a copy for yourself. We sat down for a smooth cup of Rose Bros coffee and discussed Dr. Athanassakos' new value investing book, principles for success in investing, the problems with the efficient market theory, choosing a profession that aligns with your character, lessons from meeting Warren Buffett, and character traits of successful investors. Also, the full version of this episode is available on YouTube, so check out the Rose Bros channel, and if you enjoyed it, subscribe. It will go a long way to helping the show. Enjoy! Also, this week's podcast is brought to you by Rundle Eco Services. Looking for a way to recycle your frac pond and pit liners used in the energy industry? Rundle collects and processes liners using an environmentally friendly system, leaving a clean environmental footprint. The end use of these liners are shredded and processed into pellets that can be used and extruded into various forms of usable plastic products, including furniture, various building materials, and industrial packaging. Check out rundleco.com for more details on how you can recycle your industrial pond and pit liners today. Dr. Athanassakos, thank you very much for doing the podcast again.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and thanks for inviting me again. Good to talk to you.
Today's conversation is centered around your new book, Value Investing: From Theory to Practice, a guide to the value investing process. You got a really good compliment from Prem Watsa, a famous Canadian billionaire. Not many people get that. What is value investing from theory to practice?
Okay, so this is my new book that I published this January. It is the first academic book in value investing, connects academic valuation and finance to fundamental analysis and value investing. In the book, I show readers a way to be able to find and buy stocks that trade significantly below intrinsic value. It's a very comprehensive book. I don't think there's anything else like this. It's a very comprehensive book on fundamental analysis. I follow a holistic approach to valuation where I intersect finance, accounting, strategy, economics, psychology. And it's very different from a typical modern portfolio theory or the investment courses that are taught at universities. I don't have formulas. I don't have techniques. I don't have market efficiency in there. I believe a lot in due diligence, whereas modern portfolio theory does not believe in fundamental analysis. In due diligence, they believe that due diligence is a wasted effort because they say, diversify. And if you diversify, you don't have to worry about businesses. And that diversification will save us. But we know diversification does not save anybody. In March 2020, it didn't matter what you did in diversification, you were dead. The book was primarily written for students, it's an academic book. But I think both seasoned and novice investors can find a lot in the book, because in addition to talking about the theory and the practice and so on, I've got a web-based model which people can use for real-life valuations. And I've got also in the password protected area, I've got applications of the model to real-time, real value companies that make the book come alive.
Why did you write Value Investing: From Theory to Practice?
Yeah, I mean, that's an obvious way why people write books. I mean, I wrote a book because I want value investing to be adapted at universities. At this point, there is no academic book on value investing. Academics don't learn value investing at the graduate program. They're not taught value investing, okay? When a young faculty member wants to teach value investing, they don't know where to start from. They have no guide, no book to tell them what to do and to base their lectures on. And then they're discouraged from putting forth applications and proposals for new courses, for a value investing course. So I think, and I hope, my book is a stepping stone towards the adoption of value investing at universities at the global level. You know Seth Klarman, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of him. So in one of his annual meetings, he said that, among other things, he said, we try to hire young because it's very difficult to untrain people. And I think he was referring to, it's difficult to untrain people who grew up reading about modern portfolio theory and investment, academic investment. Modern portfolio theory, in theory, is fine. In practice is the problem, right? Mm-hmm. And modern portfolio theory and quantitative finance try to use shortcuts. Instead of doing in-depth fundamental analysis, try to use formulas and shortcuts to get precision, which in real life is not possible.
Precisely wrong instead of broadly right.
Yeah, exactly. And precision, like we believe to be better approximately right than precisely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And these formulas, most of the time, are precisely wrong because they're based on very restrictive assumptions that in real life, they fail. So my book tries to teach people the value investing approach, the value investing way at looking at finance, which I think will make Seth Klarman happy and happy to hire from this group of people.
Oddly enough, I just finished The Black Swan by Nassim Taleb, and a lot of those concepts seems to overlap with what he's saying too, on a side note.
I mean, if you look at quantitative finance and all these investment book ideas, they think that risk is like a roulette.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a roulette, you know the odds, but you don't know what the number will come up. Mm-hmm. But real life is not like a roulette, because it's not only risk I know or don't know, and in roulette, you know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know the odds, but you don't know what the number will come. The real life looks more like a poker game, where what you observe around you affects the odds. If this is how risk is, and also, the other thing that academic finance misses, or modern portfolio theory, is that financial markets are not natural phenomena. You don't have precision, okay? It's a man-made. And man-made, is difficult to model human behavior. Every human is different. And human behavior affects capital markets. And in the effort, I guess, humans try to control for risk, they change risk.
I think the fancy term is ludic fallacy, where you think the modeling of the game is applied to real life.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But modern finance is based on the idea that you know the odds, but you don't know what exactly will come.
Exactly.
So Nassim Taleb gets to this idea and he says, distributions are not normal. They've got fat tails.
Mm-hmm.
And fat tails means there are many things you don't know. So there are two kinds of risk. There is I know, I don't know, which are captured by the variance. And then there is you don't know, which are not captured by the variance or measured by the variance. And also, he wrote another article for the Harvard Business Review. And he said, he was talking about the 6 things that money managers should not do, something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, they should not pay attention to the past. They should not pay attention to variance of stock returns. And then at the end, he says that most portfolio managers try to maximize the return as opposed to minimizing risk. And that's very important for value investors, because value investors, they want to minimize risk. They adhere to what Aristotle said many years ago. He said that the aim of the wise is not to secure pleasure, but to avoid pain. And I mean, this is true in life as it is in investing. If you go through life without pain, you're really very happy person. If you go through investing without losses, you are really very ahead of the game.
The original author of the kind of value investing school is Ben Graham. He authored and co-authored a lot of the original books and whatnot in the literature that people have read, and including Warren Buffett and all the famous investors. Why does the reader need another voice and writer on the value investing topic? Is there more room to cover?
Yeah, I mean, my book is not another book. Okay, it's not another book. It's a very unique book. I mean, there are many value investing books out there. Okay, there are many value investing books out there, but all written by professionals. They give you their own personal story in a very subjective, narrative way. Mine is an academic book that provides a rigorous structure and an objective structure. It's the only book, I think, that anybody needs to read, because it goes from alpha to omega, from the beginning to the end. Probably you read Prem Watsa's preface, I guess, the book, who said that my book is like the New Testament to Ben Graham's Old Testament. And Ben Graham's book was written in the 30s, right? So you need the New Testament, I guess, to bring the ideas together and introduce new stuff in there. And again, Ben Graham was not really, I mean, he really taught, but was not really an academic that came from the academic ranks, right? In my case, I'm an academic. I use the academic structure, but then I show how this can make sense in value investing. And I show, I talked to many people, and I realized that most of these professionals who did things by trial and error, by experience, by intuition, what they were saying actually could be quantified and made academic. And that's the beauty of things. I saw that what we do is not witchcraft, okay? It's an academic stuff. And what we do relates a lot to what they teach at the universities, but it's much simpler without the formulas, more fundamental analysis, more bottom-up understanding of businesses. In the book, I start with the theory of value investing, the academic valuation, and then I show how this transitions into value investing and why we do what we do. For example, value investors say, I don't want to invest in startups. Well, I show them why they don't want to invest in startups, which just makes sense theoretically and academically, and also makes a lot of sense. The approach I take in the book is that we better be approximately right than precisely wrong. And this goes against modern portfolio theory that is based on formulas and precision, on assumptions that in real life don't work. And I take the same approach throughout the book, and the same approach with risk management, which in modern portfolio theory uses high-level math. But in my case, I show you that the value investing approach is more intuitive and is a more bottom-up fundamental analysis that does very well in managing risk through some of the concepts that we do, including margin of safety. You know what Buffett said? Beware of geeks bearing formulas. Mm-hmm. And we believe this. The book, when you read the book, says, oh, this is what it means. Because I do talk about the academic stuff. I say, look at the academic stuff, all these formulas, all this precision, and look what we do with fundamental. We understand better businesses and do a better job than believing this precision that the formulas lead you to believe. And, many academics actually now, there's an academic at MIT. His name is Andrew Law. He's I would say, the top quant guy, super smart guy, okay, very quant guy. He came up with an article recently, and he said that physics envy creates a false sense of mathematical precision. And unfortunately, if you look at ads for jobs that many of the big firms post, they're asking for PhDs in math or physics. And you say, why? And they say, well, the math guys can learn finance, but the finance people cannot learn math. But these math super genius guys, they don't understand, I guess, fundamental analysis, they don't understand markets, the structure of the markets. So they come with these formulas that work some cases, but most of the time don't work. Mm-hmm. And then we have this mess that we have many times in the capital markets. Systems fail, and then the government has to come in and try to support the system.
I think one example of that was the long-term capital management example when all those really, really smart people went bankrupt.
3 Nobel winners.
Yeah.
But they thought the distribution was normal, okay? The normal touches the horizontal axis. At least they knew all they need to know. They based the strategy from historical relationships, okay, between bonds and stocks. And they said, this will prevail going forward. And then what happened? The don't know happened.
Black swan.
Russia defaulted. And then bonds and stocks became perfectly correlated. They were leveraged 100 to 1. They went bankrupt. And then the government had to come in to save the system. Okay, and slowly, every time I guess something happened, the government comes in, started to save the system. And now we're in the mess we're now, where they cannot come to save the system because we got inflation.
Is it difficult coming from an academic setting to apply your ideas on sense of false precision and theories to come up with a book that is more practical knowledge and the value investing approach? How do you balance those two kind of spheres?
I mean, like I said, what we do is not deterministic. It's not like physics or math.
Right.
What we do is an art, in the science. So a lot of wiggle room. We cannot aim for precision. Because of this, I guess, we cannot aim for precision in financial markets because, like I said, they are man-made. They're not really natural phenomena. And math and physics give you a false sense of precision. If you believe so much on the formulas, you think that the formulas can give you exact precision. And the formulas and the theory looks nice, in theory, but in real life, all these statistical assumptions don't really work in real life. And I like to say, I think I didn't say this first. There was a famous baseball player who said this. He said, in theory and practice are the same. In practice, they're different. So, I met a lot of value investors. And like I said before, I decided to look at value investing from a holistic point of view. That is, you need finance, you need accounting, you need strategy, you need economics, you need psychology. And because value investing is an art, intuition is very important. You got to develop your intuition. Proper analysis and the process you follow is important. Common sense and good judgment are important. Having the right character is important, like humility, because you don't know what the future looks like. Future is predictable. You need to be patient. You need to be disciplined. You need to have long-term perspective. And so to avoid mistakes, we like to deal with simple companies and simple structures. And to understand businesses from bottom up and learn from our mistakes. That we review every time and know it, try to figure out where they made the mistake, how can you adjust, I guess, what we did to make a mistake. But again, we don't believe in precision, okay? A lot of wiggle room in real life.
I think the Charlie Munger quote, some of the worst decisions that have ever come from business relied on detailed analysis. The higher math was false precision. They do that in business schools because they've got to do something, quote, is a good one.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've read that one.
Well, I mean, I read a lot of similar stuff that Charlie Munger just said as well. And I mean, Munger, Klarman, Buffett have mocked consistently what they teach at universities.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, university professors think that these guys were just lucky, okay, not super smart in terms of practical smart.
Prem Watsa, like we said, gives an incredible endorsement at the start of your new book. He started out as a value investor, a strict value investor, but sometimes people morph their strategies into buying, say, good businesses and holding. Has his investment strategy morphed over the years, or is it still strictly a value investing approach?
No, I think if you look at what he has done mostly is the pure Bengram opportunistic approach, where you buy companies that are obscure or undesirable, and you're looking for a catalyst. And if you look, he bought Greek bonds, he bought Irish banks, he bought Stelco, BlackBerry. These are all like semi-bankrupt problematic companies, right? So I think he's still a pure Bengram investor, opportunistic, as opposed to a quality investor like Warren Buffett. I mean, Warren Buffett started as an opportunistic investor. If you look up to 1981, he was investing in these small problematic companies. But then he became too big to invest in small, less liquid companies. And then he met also Charlie Munger, and they started to now go into more quality companies, which are great companies with great barriers to entry, competitive advantage, sustainability. And for these companies, you want to buy and hold, whereas for the bank-run companies, you want to go buy and sell based on how they move above the intrinsic value. And I think there are two different styles here of value investing. And I think Prem is a more like bank-run, whereas Buffett has evolved into more quality investor. I think in the long run, the bank-run approach gives you better returns in the long run, but you get a lot of ups and downs though. The quality gives you not so good in the long run, but gives you better sleeping at night. And now, Buffett, I think, is very close to his end of his career. I think he's not truly making decisions anymore. I think the other guys make decisions. I mean, I think Buffett would never have bought the four airline companies, okay? Which he bought them, and then he sold them because he realized he made a mistake. And he said, Buffett should have listened to Buffett, okay? So anyway, I think Prem is, I have great confidence in Prem, and I have great confidence in Fairfax. I think in the long run, Fairfax could be a better investment than Berkshire Hathaway.
In the era of software and tech, does your book and the value approach apply to those sorts of businesses, or how do those two styles of businesses work together?
I mean, I think the book teaches you a way to think about business in general, okay, which I think applies in every business. It shows you how to find great companies, okay, how to find great businesses. It shows the reader how value investing and valuation can be used as a guide to make better business decisions. So, and that's another, I guess, misconception about value investing in academia and generally, that people think that value investing is only about investing. But value investing is not only about investing, it's also about corporate finance. That is, value investing has two sides of the same coin. One is the value seeker, who's the investor, and the other side is the value creator, who's the CEO. CEOs, many people say, CEOs, you don't need to understand valuation, this is more an expertise thing. That's not true. I mean, the CEO has to maximize value of the company. If he does not understand how value is created, how can he do his job or her job properly? CEOs are investors because they get all this cash flow the company produces, and they've got to invest, maybe buy another company, maybe pay off debt, maybe buy back shares. Eventually, he has to do the one which is best for the company, to maximize the value of the company. So the CEO is an investor. And my own research that I talk about also in the book shows you that the best CEOs are those who behave like value investors. And, successful people in any aspect of life, successful people have the right character and the right frame of mind to make decisions. And all of them understand in depth human nature, because emotions cloud your judgment and lead to illogical decisions. So most successful people, either they were born with the right character or they develop strategies to understand the human weaknesses and the problems human nature causes, as well as conflicts that many times human nature produces as well. So the most successful people in any business, and this is what Buffett says, he says, my successor, I don't want my successor to be Einstein. What I want my successor to understand is to understand human nature and institutional biases. That everybody in this world has conflicts. And you've got to do your homework, and you got to be independent. So you need to have the right principle of operation. Okay, you got to understand businesses, you got to have the valuation model, you got to have intuition, you've got to be independent, you've got to have a small number of stocks. Okay, if you don't invest a lot, don't expect to make a lot. Okay, so if you invest in 20 stocks, you can invest a lot in each one of them. If you invest in 100 stocks, you cannot put a lot of money into each one of them. So you got to have the right principle of operation, and then you got to have the right character for the job. Whatever job you do, your job and your passion has to be consistent with your character. Never do something that goes against your character, because you're going to be miserable and you will not be going to work, as Buffett says, tap dancing.
There's a lot of factors that you just said that go into making a successful investor. When you meet people, how long does it take for you to figure out whether they kind of have all those ingredients? Does it take years for you to kind of measure people, or can you kind of measure it right away? How do you do that?
Well, I mean, so Buffett says, I take them for lunch, and if they're here for the money, I don't hire them. I mean, I see my students too, right? They say, well, this is great stuff, but I want to make money quickly. But when you see people, I'll give you another example like this. I have a friend who is a value investor. So he invests in Eastern Europe. So he went one time in Georgia, this country called Georgia, to interview management. And he says, I walk parking lot to the head office, and I look around, and the only cars I see are Lamborghinis. I said, these are not a value investing company, because these managers are more there for the show off. Okay, if you go and read about Enron, in the Enron parking lot, there were Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Bugatti, whatever. I don't know what the other one of the expensive car is. You can tell a lot about people. And I have, like, in the book I have, so I interviewed 20 big value investors, and I came up with 5 questions. And I say, if you answer yes to each one of them, you are a value investor. If not, you are not a value investor. And one question, I don't remember all of them now, but one question is, do you buy a new car every 2 years?
Interesting.
If you buy a new car every 2 years, because a new car is a bad investment, right? I mean, it depreciates pretty fast.
100%.
So if you buy a new car every 2 years, you're the value investor.
Was it difficult to write a book on value investing coming from an academic background without theorizing too much, or was that no trouble for you?
As an academic, when I started, like I said before, we don't learn value investing. Now, I knew I had the right personality, okay, but I didn't know anything about value investing. I didn't know I was a value investor. But I knew I was patient and very disciplined. And it is when I met Prem that I realized, holy cow, I'm a value investor. Because Prem gave money to the university to hire an academic, right, to develop value investing. Well, he knew that he couldn't find really someone who's doing value investing work in academia. So he says to me, because I had expertise on valuation, I have written another book which is called Equity Valuation. So he says to me, can you take this academic thing and make it into value investing? So I spent 1 year talking to value investors and trying to quantify what they were saying, trying to make what they were saying academic. And I think I did very well, and it's also in the book. So it's not true, I guess, that the book's an academic book. It has this academic kind of thing, this academic investment kind of field. So what I do is more from a value investing point of view. It's not based on formulas, I said before, it's not based on techniques, as it happens with investment books and modern portfolio theory at every university. It has a lot of quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis, but all is based on the basic fundamental principles of accounting, finance, strategy, economics. And it's not based on formulas, it's based on bottom-up understanding of businesses. And I want to repeat again that financial markets are not really natural phenomena. It's man-made, and it's very difficult to quantify and model human behavior. So in the book, I show you how to go from a theoretical world into a practical world. I start with a theory and academic finance, and I show you the transition into a simpler world, which is not based on formulas, but the only thing you require is deep understanding of businesses, bottom-up understanding of businesses. As they say, the math can be great, but you don't understand the business, you're never going to be a good investor. What we do is not rocket science. Okay, it's not rocket science. It's, as Buffett says, it's simple but not easy. It's not a matter of IQ. And most of these academics, have very high IQ. It's not a matter of IQ. It's more like a frame of mind of how to make investment decisions and how well you understand human nature and institutional biases. Many successful people in any aspect of life are intelligent, but I don't think intelligence is the reason for the success. Is they have the right frame of mind in making decisions in a particular field that they chose.
How did you meet Prem Watsa?
Well, Prem, early 2000s, gave money to the university, to Ivey. And gave money to Ivey because he finished an MBA from Ivey many years ago. So he asked Ivey to find an academic that can develop an academic program in value investing. Differentiate, I guess, from the Columbia program, to be the competition to Columbia program. So the university sent out an ad for a job and attracted, I guess, many applications from academics, including some of my colleagues here. So we went through this two-stage interview. One, we came here, we made a presentation to academics, an academic presentation, and then we were taken to meet Prem and have a chat with Prem, one more executive, Roger Lays, who heads the Hamblin Watson investment arm. So we met, I met Prem once, then he says, come back. So I left and they said, they told me that he wants to see you again. I went back. He asked me a lot of questions actually about are markets efficient? What do you believe about beta, the beta coefficient? These are big items they talk at the university, right? Then he asked me to give him a copy of my book, the other book, the equity valuation book. And he probably read some parts of it. And then he asked me to come back again. So I'm sitting in the boardroom waiting for him, and he comes in, rushing in the room, and comes to me giving me a big hug. He says, George, says to me, where have you been for all these years? Because, many academics went there and would try to convince Prem that markets were efficient. And Marcus said, but I made so much money because markets are not efficient. And many times he got so annoyed that he had to get them out of his office. So this is how I met him. And then, we meet regularly. I said before, we're expanding now to Europe. We opened an office in Athens. We're starting something in India. So we're taking this global. The only thing, is that I need to find other academics who have the same frame of mind. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And I have a call with Prem how to do this, because at some point I'm going to retire, right? Who's going to take over? Because if I leave and they bring in a pure academic, the center will dissolve. There'll be no respect from value investors. So this is what we need to work over the next couple of years, succession plan. Who's going to be the next head of the Bank Alam Center and teach value investing? So that's our main concern now.
You've met a lot of billionaires, a lot of really successful investors. Do they all kind of have the same common theme and the belief in the markets aren't efficient and the value investing approach? Or does each investor take their own approach? Or have you noticed any common themes?
All of them have, like I said, the right character for the job. It doesn't have to be value investors, but you have to be disciplined. Okay, and you have to have a passion that's consistent with your personality. So I think that's the characteristic, I think, of success is people are in control of their emotions. They've got a long-term perspective. The Bitcoin crowd is not going to be value investors. Okay? These guys want to become millionaires overnight. Successful people have common characteristics. And like I said before, it has nothing to do with intelligence.
How would you measure success of your book? The kind of prevalence of the belief that, like we said, markets aren't efficient and the wider acceptance of value investing?
Academics have started to come around now, and many realize that the premise behind market efficiency, it doesn't make sense, because market efficiency assumes that all humans are rational and that all humans are honest and have no conflicts. For them, it's very difficult to overcome this thing because they think it's bad for their career. If you made your name, I guess, going and talking about market efficiency, and if the journals are controlled by senior people who are believers in market efficiency, it's very difficult for young people to challenge this. They may never get tenure. So it's not that my book started this. I think already academics in finance as well as in psychology, and Daniel Kahneman won a Nobel Prize. They started to question this rationality of investors. Investors are not rational. They panic. They're not disciplined. They get exuberant. I know people have emailed me back who read the book and they said this is a must-read book, and many said this must be on every investor's reading list. Prem liked it. He called it the New Testament. But for me, and that you saw the testimonials or the endorsement, I guess, from the many very well-respected value investors I have in the book, right? But for me, success would be if universities start to adopt the book. It's still early because the book was published in January. So it takes time for academics to take the book, read it, and then propose it. So it may take 1 or 2 years. And after that, we'll know what's happening.
Do you find there's tension between you and maybe some of the university policies and faculty members when you criticize a lot of the ideas that are prevalent in the university? How do you deal with that?
Many of my colleagues, they think that I'm nutcase. They don't really take what I do seriously. They think that, and they were surprised actually, because and I know this from the committee that interviewed, I guess, me, and what some people were telling me after I got the job, they thought, I would come here and develop a course where I talk about war stories. They never thought that, holy cow, an academic course can be developed trying to translate, I guess, this qualitative stuff that they do into academic material. So, that is, of course, jealousy. If you look at the YouTube or time spent on the Ben Graham website by visitors, in proportion of the time spent in all Ivey, our time is 97% of all timing. The second center, 1%. So I don't know if this creates some kind of jealousy. Who's this guy, that creates so much followers and tension and so on. But yes, my academics don't really think seriously about value investing.
But on the other hand, you have people like Nassim Taleb on your side who would argue that a lot of the statistical methods and ideas and valuation models taught in university are wrong.
Even like I said, Seth Klarman, Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, in many occasions they said that they mock what is taught at universities. Okay, they make jokes about this, and yet nothing has changed because academics have a vested interest in keeping. When you read in books about modern portfolio theory and market efficiency, you don't want to reverse their views, and then have your books being unused. Right. So a lot of conflicts here.
Do you think there's value in kind of avoiding those mass programs like CFA or certain business schools, and it's better just to learn on your own and spend your time researching companies and develop your own ideas?
Yeah, CFA, as far as value investing it doesn't make sense because it's owned by academia
Yeah.
program. Yeah. But it's become a standard in the industry as a profession. It's become a standard. So I tell my students, go get the CFA, not because you're going to learn much of usefulness. No, you're going to get some useful stuff there, but not about value investing ideas. And then do your own thing, like try to understand businesses. Try to say, these are 4 industries I can understand, and then spend a lot of time delving into these businesses, understanding everything, the business model, the structures, everything. As you know, probably value investors read a lot. They read a lot, value investors. They spend 80% of the day just reading. Buffett says I read 200 pages every day or more than that. And why they do this? Because they want to understand what's happening out there. Okay, you understand businesses, structures, if there's smoke somewhere, or there's fire, going into areas. And that's why my approach is holistic. You've got to go into areas which are outside your main expertise and learn other areas like strategy, economics, finance. And how do you do this? On your own, studying, talking to people who are experts in the area.
One of, again, Charlie Munger's points is that it's important to learn the big ideas in all the disciplines: psychology, engineering, physics, economics, math, and combine them into one. Do you think that would be kind of something that's undervalued in terms of investing, is having all the big ideas and from the various fields?
Well, for me, let's say I don't understand technology. But if you want to invest in a wide number of stocks, maybe spend time understanding technology, right? Which outside your comfort zone. And this is what Charlie Munger was referring to, that, if you want to understand businesses, you've got to go outside one area. You got to go to many areas, because a business is a collection of things, not only finance, accounting, but engineering, technology, geology, everything, And if you want to understand really the business, you've got to understand every function of this business.
They don't teach that in school as much, I found, in CFA, MBA.
They do teach some of this stuff, but they teach it independent. They don't think that all this come together.
Exactly.
Are related.
Yes.
So students get all these things, but they don't know how they connect. Whereas in the book, you're going to see all is connected. All is connected. All these pillars that they learn at the university are connected through value investing.
You spent a lot of time with Warren Buffett, more than the average person has, probably. Do you know if your book's on his reading list yet, or is it soon to be?
I don't know. I sent him a copy. I don't know.
Okay.
I asked him actually for an endorsement. He said, as a policy, I don't like to do this.
What's one of the main lessons that you learned from him in terms of life or investing or in general?
Well, giving back to society. Like when we go there, now he's no longer meeting people because he's really tired and old. But when we met with him, he stood up there for 2 hours talking to us. Standing up, not even sitting, okay? And then he would say, okay, enough of Q&A, let's go have lunch. And then he would come with us, have lunch for another 2 hours. And then he would go and stand up and take photos with each one of them. Who else did this? No one else did this, okay? Because they say, oh, we're busy. But he's busy too. But he thinks you've got to give back to society. You've got to train young people about kindness, and about the way to look into investing. You don't want to have a society run by people who are, beating their chests and they're saying, we're the best and so on. You want people who are humble. You want people who have integrity. Humility and integrity are very important. Okay, and integrity means say what you mean and mean what you say. Okay, and most people don't follow this thing. That's, I think, the humility and integrity.
Well, I think that's a great conversation. We could probably wrap up the podcast there. I could ask you questions all day long, but I know you are busy. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was nice talking to you. Like I said, an advice to people, I guess, is buy my book and then attend my seminars. If you want to have a complete, well-rounded And then you can do your own thing after that and do more in depth on your own. But you need to have some structure at the beginning, okay? A process, which I teach in the book, a process. So you can read the book, you can take my seminars, and after that, you can do your own thing about understanding human nature, your characteristics, your character, about following your passion, understanding business from bottom up, spending a lot of time understanding, I guess, a wider areas of knowledge, of businesses, and read. And read history, okay? Read history, because history does repeat.
Not that you need more exposure, but if somebody wanted to learn more about your book and the Ben Graham Center and whatnot, where could they find more information on that?
The book is self-published, and the book is sold only at the Western bookstore, because I want money to stay with the university as opposed to staying with Amazon. Okay, so the book is not on Amazon. It can only be bought if they go to Western bookstore and search by my name. They can see Value Investing from Theory to Practice, and they can order it online.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's a great discussion. You can end it there. Hey, thanks for listening, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you liked what you heard, check out rosebros.ca, where we will have upcoming shows. Until next time, happy coffee drinking.